Om Swastiastu. Good evening, Mrs. Dayu Istri and all of my friends in 4I class in a micro teaching course. On special occasions, allow me to present my work entitled Skills in Providing Reinforcement. But first of all, I would like to mention what kinds of discussions that we will discuss in these presentations. All right, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on this special occasion, we would like to discuss all the things about reinforcement, starting from the definition, the purpose of giving reinforcement, the types of reinforcement, the principle of reinforcement, and the last one is how to use reinforcement in the learning processes. But first of all, before we continue to our discussions, allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Wayan Gede Suastawan. You can call me Adi. I'm from Singaraja, Bali, Bulacan Regency. I'm a Virgo's man and I'm a book freak because I love all kinds of books such as biography, novel, psychology, science fiction, self-improvement, and etc. All right. Now, let's discuss the first topic in this presentation. It is about what is reinforcement skill. So as you can see on the slide, reinforcement skill is all forms of verbal or non-verbal responses that given by teachers to the students, which aims to provide information or feedback in the form of motivations or corrections. So when we see the definitions from the statement, we can conclude that the reinforcement is not only about motivation, but it can be in the form of correction. All right. Now we discuss about the goal or the purpose to provide reinforcement. In general, there are four purpose or goal to give reinforcement during the learning process. The first one is increase students' attention during the learning process. The second one is stimulate and increase learning motivation. The third one is improve learning activity. And the last one is fostering productive the students' behavior. Now, after we know about the definitions and also the purpose of the giving reinforcement, now we have to understand the types of reinforcement. Actually, reinforcement is divided into two types. The first one is verbal reinforcement, and the second one is non-verbal reinforcement. So let me start with verbal reinforcement. So verbal reinforcement actually expressed with the word that mean praise, appreciation, or approval. Well, according to the M.Pd, 1984, page 6, verbal reinforcement is the strengthening of students' behavior and appearance, which is done with comments in the form of words of praise, support, recognitions, and encouragement. So in further, verbal reinforcement can be presented in the form of word or sentences. So when we give reinforcement, especially verbal reinforcement in the form of word, there are some words that we can give to the students in order to give reinforcement, such as good. So we use good to express when students do assignment or order well, neatly, and systematically. And the second example is right or true. It is expressed when students answer a question according to the appropriate or correct answer. And then we also can say smart. It can be conveyed by the teacher if students have good intellectual abilities compared to other students. It can also be conveyed when students are correct in answering questions that given by the teachers. And what about in the form of sentence? So it is more complicated than words. So when we give a reinforcement in the form of sentences, it will be more meaningful when we want to apply verbal reinforcement in the learning processes. Let's say some example of verbal reinforcement in the form of sentences. So we can say that, very good, my dear. Hey, you did a great job. 5 bonus point for you, or I totally agree with your opinion. And now, what about non-verbal reinforcement? So the non-verbal reinforcement approach is all teacher activities in the form of gesture that can provide positive encouragement for students' learning activities. So now we would like to discuss the components of non-verbal reinforcement. The first one is reinforcement in the form of facial expressions and body movement. So reinforcement in the form of mimics and body movements such as smiles, nods, thumbs up, and so on is sometimes done together with verbal reinforcement. Let's say, for example, when the teacher say good to the students, yeah, at the same time, the teachers also point his thumb at the students. However, this non-verbal reinforcement doesn't not always to be carried out at the same time as verbal reinforcement. The second one is reinforcement by approaching the students. So it is can given by the teacher by like a form of attention, pleasure in the work, behavior, or appearance of students. So this is can be done by standing next to the student, walking or sitting next to the students or discussion group. So this reinforcement is also used to strengthen verbal reinforcement. And then reinforcement in the form of touch. It is done by tapping the shoulder of the student, shaking hand, or raising hand of the student who won in the match. So the teacher need to consider the age, cultural background, and also the gender of students. For example, reinforcement in the form of stroking the hair of students, it is suitable in the kindergarten and low grades, but it is not appropriate for high grade students. And what about the reinforcement with fun activity? So reinforcement with fun activity can be done by singing together, dancing, or do like like exercise such as brain gym and simple game and so on. And the last is reinforcement in the form of symbol or object. This can be done by writing commands on students' book, giving a start in the student work, and also other subjects. They're not too expensive but have a symbolic meaning. It's better not to use it too often, especially in the form of object. So it does not become a habit for students to expect reward because of their appearance. Now, what about the reinforcement principle? In general, there are three principles that we have to know in order to give a good reinforcement to the students. The first one is warmth and enthusiasm. In this context, the teacher must be pay attention to the gesture, expressions, and also the sounds. And the second one is meaningfulness. The provisions of reinforcement is adjusted to the behavior and appearance of students. And the last one is avoid giving negative reinforcement. The teachers must avoid giving insulting jokes or discriminating against students. And last but not least, after we already know the definitions, the purpose, the principle, and also the types of reinforcement, the last one is we have to know how to use reinforcement. The first one is reinforcement to certain individuals. It means that the target must be clear. So when the teacher wants to give reinforcement to their students, they have to lock the target first, and after that, give a suitable reinforcement to the students. The second one is group reinforcement. It is for group. And third one is immediate reinforcement. It means that when the students do their work properly or already finished their work, the teachers should be give the reinforcement directly. And then last but not least, variation in use. When we want to give a reinforcement to the students, we have to be more creative. We have to be more innovative so that the kinds of reinforcement can be renewable and not feel bored to the students so that the learning process can be feel monotonous. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all about our presentation. I would like to say apologize if there are some mistake because nobody is perfect. I hope all of you can understand the material. Stay healthy, stay safe, and have a good day, everyone. So see you in the next presentations. Goodbye, everyone.